What's up, guys? Russ from Backyard Boat Works. So I'm all suited up today, as you can see, and it's hot as hell outside, and I'm struggling actually to, let me turn this fan off. Struggling actually to get some work done. I'm moving super slow. It's the day before 4th of July, and I came to work on my Paramount project for a couple hours because it's 70% chance of rain at around 3 o'clock, and I think it's getting close to 3, so probably not going to be able to work much more. But I wanted to make this video real quick because while I was working on the front area here on my boat, I found two issues that, you know, it's just poor planning. Production boats typically, these Paramounts weren't really production boats. I guess you could consider it a production boat back in the mid 80s when it was being built, but a lot of corners cut, a lot of mistakes made, and I'm going to show you two things that I found today that ultimately caused problems with this boat. And I mean, it's over 30 years old, so it wasn't really a big deal. However, this boat was restored at some point, but I don't really think that anybody touched any of this here in this front area. So I have a tendency to keep rambling, so I'm going to show you two issues real quick. All right, so the first thing here is I noticed that my bow eye hook had some brown water coming out from the outside, and that was running down the bow. So brown water on the outside of your hull means one thing, that the wood core on the inside is getting wet and it's just soaking the water and then coming out. So you can see here, I just washed out this area, but look at this water pooling right here. So at any point over the past 20 or 30 years, if water had got into this area, it just sits right here. There's nowhere for it to go. So there's a drain right here in this front area, which I guess could have been an anchor locker or something. The hole that was here in this bulkhead was really small, so getting anchor in and out of here was really a headache. But you can see this right here is going to cause issues. So this is plywood, and this reinforcement right here for the eye hook is plywood. So that water is just getting into this eye hook here and going underneath and getting into the plywood. So poor design. There should be a drain here, so this water had somewhere to go and run out of the hull, but there isn't. But the second thing is, I'm going to show you here. So there used to be a bulkhead right here that went all the way across flat, and you know, as I said, there was a small hatch opening here so you could reach in. It wasn't very usable because it was small, but it was more so you could get to the bow navigation light and the wires and things like that. So I cut this out, but I wanted to show you here. You can see this is where the tabbing was. So the bulkhead was here and the tabbing came up like this on both sides. But you notice here how dry this laminate is. This glass here, it's super dry. So I ground out a bunch of this, but before I ground it out, it was all just dry glass. And the reason why that happens is because this is a plywood bulkhead, and when they put the resin and the tabbing onto the plywood, they did not pre-treat the plywood. So plywood is, you know, it'll act like a sponge for the most part. So when you put your tabbing onto the plywood, and then that resin that's on that first layer of tabbing, it gets soaked into the plywood and pulls the resin out of the glass. So it leaves no resin in the laminate, and then it causes this joint right here to be dry and weak. So not a lot of builders use plywood anymore, but you do see it quite often in like some of the DIY forums and things like that. Guys tend to go towards plywood, especially if you're in the freshwater or you're in the Northeast or somewhere in the North where you're only boating a couple months a year and then the boat sits dry. The plywood will last a long time. This is plywood right here, and you know, it's still pretty solid, but I'm gonna have to fix this. I'm not gonna cut this out. I have to draw the line somewhere with doing the work on this boat, so I'm just going to leave this. I'll probably epoxy up underneath and then encapsulate this all, and it'll be fine. But there's going to be a piece of Kusa here over the top as well. So if this ultimately ends up rotting, it's not really going to make a difference. You know, so you see plywood in bass boats a lot, covered in carpet, and eventually it's going to fail. But in a saltwater environment, in an environment where you're using the boat a lot, the plywood's really not a good choice. And especially today, when most of the plywood is made in China, it's not really top grade marine plywood. To get the best marine plywood, you need to go to a marine supply shop that has, you know, the A grade marine plywood that's, you know, specifically meant for building boats. The stuff that you buy at Lowe's or Home Depot says marine grade, but it's really not. At least not, you know, to marine specs. So I just thought I would point a couple of those things out. It's hard to understand, you know, how some of those things happen until you can point it out down the road. So super quick video. Looks like I'm about 6 minutes or so, so not as quick as I thought it was going to be. But if you have any questions about that, have any questions about what caused that, how to avoid it, things like that. So for the rest of the day today, I'm actually taking that eye hook out from the bow, and I'm grinding out that core, and I'm going to replace that core with Kusa, and then re-epoxy that back in, and then re-drill the holes for the eye hook, and then I'll never have to worry about that again. And never have to worry about that rotting again. So appreciate it, guys. Quick little video that I wanted to show you guys, and see you in the next one.
Try to make it all undone, so it didn't have to hurt.